Welcome back. Now, the price of petrol in Nigeria may go up again following the suspension of the sale of petroleum products in Naira, as the Naira-for-crude talks between the Dangote refinery and the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited now appears to have failed. Well, oil marketers have now declared they would seek alternatives. The decision implies that marketers of petroleum products who want to buy the product from the Dangote refinery will now pay in dollars, which will consequently lead to an increase, likely now lead to an increase in the pump price of petrol across the country. Don't forget, before now, Dangote had been selling the product in Naira because it gets, of course, crude supply from the NNPC in Naira. But with the suspension of that deal, with the suspension now by Dangote, just because it's not able to get crude from NNPC in Naira, then there's likely to be problems. Now, according to reports, the Naira-for-crude committee had last week met at the Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja to assess developments and reaffirm commitments to the policy framework. The NNPCL had then presented a crude delivery report detailing the volume of crude oil allocated for domestic refining under the policy. Now, however, the talks did not lead to further crude supply in Naira, which made the Dangote refinery announce that it would stop petrol sales in the local currency. Multiple sources from the Federal Ministry of Finance and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources have now confirmed that the technical subcommittee on the Naira-for-crude policy should reconvene on Monday, March the 24th to deliberate on the matter. Well, it's a very huge problem if this is not resolved as quickly as possible. Well, joining me now to look at the implication of this is Femi Oladile, who is an economist. Femi, thank you very much for coming on the program. This is not the kind of news we expect to get at this time. Dangote has said he's suspending the sale of petrol in Naira, and it is going to be dollars henceforth. So, which means marketers who would naturally go to buy from him, and majority of our marketers in the country actually buy from the Dangote refinery now, they'll have to go and source for dollars to buy petrol from Dangote. So what's the implication of that?
That's a significant increase in demand for dollars in Nigeria. We should definitely, what I am advocating for is to use what we have to get what we have, which is Naira. Unfortunately, this is happening, and it means that there will be significant pressure on forex demand, because petrol is like the soul of transactions in Nigeria. It affects transport, it affects infrastructure, it affects food, it affects many things. And so, since it's a significant need, we might be seeing slight changes in the price of petrol, the retail price. And this is significant on many fronts. Firstly, we understand that increase would affect the rates, which has been relatively stable over time. Secondly, is that Nigerians are perceptive. The fact that we already understand that this is happening, even when the effect is not yet a reality, we would presume that it's going to be a significant reality, and would already be making provisions for it. So even people that are not affected by this would already be saying, oh, Dangote is no longer selling in Naira. And so we would definitely also not sell in Naira. That's significant. It's a significant drag on the demand, which we have been trying to stabilize in Nigeria. And I don't think that the CBN is able to keep up with the demand at this time.
Now, let me ask you this. Look, Dangote has been selling in Naira, before this suspension. And then because it gets crude supply from the NNPC in Naira, even though we understand it pays the dollar equivalent of that's the dollar equivalent of the Naira now. But you look at it, we've had some kind of relative or some semblance of stability now, just as you said, in the forex market. So if nothing changes, let's say there's no change in the price of dollar, so to speak, Are we still likely to get some kind, an increment now in the price of petrol, if nothing changes?
Okay, so basically, theoretically, nothing should change. But like I said, many times we are perceptive. We would presume that it will change, and so definitely to affect the market. But if theoretically we say the exchange rate remains at 1,500 to a dollar, that means that normally, if we have available resources, we are supposed to be able to meet that demand. But that's not the significant case, because what it means is that those who want to hoard and get cash out will definitely do that, and there will be artificial scarcity. And with artificial scarcity, no matter how the government tries to keep it in place, then things would go south. And so I don't see how it's going to be stable if we throw that whole demand into the market. I'm not sure that it can remain at 1,500, even if the government tries to make it remain at that.
And I think I agree with you, because it's difficult to see how demand would not drive up the price. But so can we say, Femi, that with what is happening now, that we're basically back to when we were importing petrol? Because even though we're getting from Dangote, the truth is we're going to be getting it in dollars. So are we back to that era?
No, we are not back to that. No, I don't want to say we are back to that era. I would say we are close to that era, not back. Because during that time, we did not have an alternative. Now we have an alternative, which is a local or a Nigerian refinery. Back to that era would be when we are totally dependent on imports. And there are many things associated with imports. But we are producing in Nigeria, and Dangote can decide, because I believe that they have the bandwidth to take some shocks and then decide to, for example, during the fasting, they made a declaration reducing the price in line with the fasting to make it easier for people as a kind gesture to Nigerians. But we are not back to that era. I think we are just close to that era.
Now, the reason I asked that question is because... Yes, the reason I asked the question is because, I mean, since we are going to be buying in... the marketers are going to be buying in dollars, what difference does it make from importing the product?
Okay, so some of the costs are still local. Some of the costs that we have at the Dangote refinery are still local. They are not foreign. They are not forex denominated. So we still have that leverage. And like I said, Dangote has grown to an extent where they have the bandwidth for shocks, just like MTN. MTN at a point around 2023 to early 2024 were making losses, yet they kept the pace. And so I believe that Dangote also has bandwidth to absorb those shocks. I think the reason they are protesting is just to make Nigerians aware that something is going on and you guys need to do something. And that has been working for Dangote over time. So I would say that we are not back to that era, but we are close to that era.
Well, we understand the technical subcommittee on the Naira-for-crude deal now would be meeting on Monday. So how important is it that they revive this deal and get it, renew it and get it to work? Because, look, we're talking about Dangote. We understand there are about 30 or 25 modular refineries in the country today. And all these modular refineries do not even have crude at all. They don't get crude from the Naira-for-crude deal, and they don't even get crude, even for dollars. And now we're talking about Dangote. So how important is it that this deal is renewed?
100% important, if you ask me, 100% important. And I also believe that they should, as an association, even be clamoring for the deal to be revived. It helps everybody. I believe it's a win-win situation. Even the country itself. I don't think that the short-term goal that the country wants to achieve by reversing or stopping, because they initially said for 6 months, by stopping that deal, makes any sense to stop it perpetually. Because if Dangote continues and insists on matching his sales with the revenue and the purchase of crude in dollars, that would have significant implications. The retail price is likely to skyrocket, and that's not even good for the economy. That's not even good for politics. It's not good for the government. So I don't think anyone stands to gain significantly if this policy is not brought back. It's very important that it's brought back. It's a great policy for everyone.
And my next question would be, look, how does this encourage investment, for instance, in the refinery business? If refiners set up refineries and they're not able to access crude in a country that is considered, the top producer of crude in Africa. So you set up a refinery here,
I believe that everyone investing in the oil and gas sector already have a significant knowledge of the risks involved. And so they cannot say that they are not aware of those risks. We know that Nigeria has sort of mortgaged future crude production in the past. We are also aware that we are unable to meet our quota, our production quota, let alone giving to refineries, especially the modular refineries that we have around the country. So I believe that they are aware of the risks involved in their business. But what I am significantly minded about is what will happen if we insist that they should get crude with dollars. It's going to impact our FX, it's going to impact production, it's going to impact retail price, it's going to impact food, because transport is going to impact so many things, and it's not good for our economy. If the government is serious about achieving the $1 trillion economy, then this is a policy in the right direction. I think that we have not reached the point where we can take this policy off the table. I'm not saying that the Naira-for-crude should continue perpetually, but that's my desire. But if the government would want to reconsider, I don't think that this is the right time to reconsider. I think we should leave it for a while again, considering that we don't want to bring back subsidy. And this is helping generally every stakeholder in that environment to contribute to the economic well-being of the country.
Femi Oladele, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Enjoy a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's how much we can take on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.